Hello, it's Leanne in Adelaide, back with an update on the ficus plants that we planted a while back. It's actually been 5 months since we transplanted our 3 ficus benjamina, or benjamina, however you want to pronounce it. Some people call them ficus, but anyhow, you know what I mean. This is the plant here, and we planted them, transplanted them from or repotted them from smaller pots. These pots on the video don't really look that big, but they're 74 litres, I think. It's quite a big capacity, a lot of potting mix, and they were looking really sad before. And now you've got nice growth. So I'm just going to step back a little bit, and that's got lots and lots of new growth, and I'm just going to come up close so you can see what I'm talking about. So just over here, that's an example. So you've got that nice lighter green, lots and lots of that on that plant, as you can see. Alright, so that's the last one that we repotted. They got through the heat wave. I've got a video, one of my videos where I did a tour after we had 46.6 degrees in Adelaide, which was a record. And they got through that okay. They got some burnt leaves, had to cut one of them back a bit, but they did manage to recover okay. So here and in the background, John's watching some TV, so sorry about the background noise. So this one here, look, it's getting right up to the top there. It didn't look anywhere near as healthy after we transplanted, and all 3 of them, they actually went backwards even more for a little while. And unfortunately, I thought I did take some video, but somehow I've lost that, so just have to take my word for it. And then they sat there and didn't get any worse. And then all of a sudden, once we got that warmer weather, it was probably I'd say about December, mid-December, they started to, they'd settled in, and they had basically decided to get going. So that's the other one here. See, lots of new growth again, lots of that very light green. This one here, we had to cut back a fair bit, and after the heat wave, and it's kind of developed a funny shape. These plants always seem to grow taller than they are wide, whereas this one's the other way around. I'd say that this has to be wider than it is tall. It's actually the shortest one by a long way, because I had to cut back quite a lot versus that, which is a more typical shape there. And we don't have a curtain here. We're exposed as far as the driveway next door with the neighbours on that particular window, but that's basically our living curtain. And it looks kind of neat from the inside as well. So overall, pretty happy with how the repotting of those worked out, of those ficus plants worked out. They really do look a lot happier now that they've settled into the new pots, and given that they've still got some room to grow and they're not fussy about being pot bound for a while, they could last another 10 years in those pots easily. Provided we just keep the fertilising up to them, they'll be fine. I'll also show you what we're doing with these self-watering pots. You can see under here we've got some chillies growing, and there's some ripe ones you can see there, and another one in there, and heaps of not ripe ones which are hard to spot because they blend in with the green leaves, but there's quite a lot on there. And that particular pot has got 2 chilli plants and a couple of basil plants. Here got, oh, get my shadow out the way. Here we've got one pot that's just got parsley only, and that's quite young. That's only been planted in the last couple of months. Here we've got basil only, and that we've been picking a lot out of it, lots and lots and lots. That's probably almost exhausted that plant. At the end here, got another 2 chilli plants. Now this one, the one at the rear, so this plant at the rear here, that is a very, very hot one. Really hot. The other 3, the one in front here and the other 2 over on the other plant, other pot, they're habaneros and they're very hot. But apparently the chilli the other chilli is even hotter than that, and habaneros are really quite hot. So let's move around to here. I'll just see if I can show you how laden these are. I might have to come underneath. There really are quite a lot of chillies there. So that's another habanero. Alright, so we've got one ripe one, and if you look carefully, the more you look, the more you can see them. There are chillies everywhere. So this would have probably about 50 chillies on it, but they're all sort of hidden under the foliage, so you really have to go underneath to see them. These are in the freezer, and there's a huge amount of habaneros. We grew another variety as well as the habaneros, and so you've got mostly orange habaneros, but you can see some red ones in there as well. And then we grew some ghost chilies, I think the name was, and I thought they would be a lot hotter. So that's all chillies going. It's all chillies going right back in there. So each bag has, I don't know, roughly anywhere between 10 and 20 chillies. One of our plants, John looked at when we were growing, and it was in full swing. That one plant had 120 chillies on it. So it's one of those funny rainy type days, and basically what that means is we're going to sit inside and not go anywhere because it's just going to rain on and off all day. So John's watching his football. I'm a plant addict, so of course I'm going to watch plant videos on YouTube because I just love all that stuff. And I'm hoping that some of you love what I do. I just make a very small contribution as far as a very small YouTuber, but I really appreciate that I have people that have subscribed, and when I put out a video I have people that actually watch at least part of it. So finally, going outside to show you some plants I potted up the other day. I had a day off work, which was great, and I did some potting up, and it's surprising how long it takes to pot little plants up. So that's my little collection that I did. Most of those, I did some of those are established and they were there for ages, but you can see the smaller ones, they're all things that I potted up the other day. So a lot of this is over in this area here we're talking about. We've got a string of beans gone mad. They're like the one on the left, it's got stuff draping along the ground. And I've already got heaps of cuttings from that, which you may see here. So I started with 3 plants. I've got multiple cuttings and so on. There's another few there, and a few over here. So from 3 plants, I don't know how many I've got now. Got those. Got this one here, which doesn't look all that much in the pot, but then if you look at the strands coming down, I'm going to buy a hanging basket of some sort. Look how long the strands are, and that's just from a cutting. So I have a couple of cuttings. So they're probably, they have to be like getting up towards 1/2 metre long. And you've got the other one here. I have to move things around because we don't get a lot of sun. In winter they like a bit more sun. They'll be okay with a bit of shade, but they're not going to grow that well. So John thinks I'm slightly plant obsessed. To me this is like a really tiny collection compared to what other people would have. Now before I go, just one more plant which is so ordinary looking, and that's this one here. So that one is a hippeastrum and it's called Papillo. My mother bought it from a trading table where she went to a concert for the Adelaide Male Choir or something or other, and they had these bulbs for sale for $5, and she bought one, and I've got a tiny little offset. Her other bulb, there's 2 offsets, but one was too small to repot. That plant, if you try to get that one online in Australia, it's $65 for one bulb, and she got it for $5. Hers is probably big enough to flower this coming season, coming up. Mine is tiny, so it will take a while, but I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose that particular plant because it is very expensive to buy. So I thought having another one somewhere else, then, if she forgot to water it, etc., then we were going to save it. So that's a total bargain, isn't it? She bought a $65 bulb for $5. I love the sound of gentle rain on the plants. That's one of our other projects where we had John tried to drill holes into the bird bath so we can make it into a planter. The garden's changed a lot. Because of the growth which we wanted out of these plants on the side, as well as at the back, for privacy, because we've got the house that is several metres above us, overlooking our backyard. We're happy that the plants are growing, but now we're in a situation where in our actual garden it's so tiny that we're not getting a lot of sun. So the calla lilies aren't going to actually grow that well because they're not just...
Honey, come and get it!
Come and get it! Thank you! So, lunch is served. I've talked enough. And we're going to have our lovely salmon. I've done the salad, which is easy. John did the harder bit, which is cooking the salmon. So I'm going to say it's goodbye from Leanne in Adelaide.